the way human beings, precious human beings, weaken themselves the most is by being lost in thought instead of taking action. Lost in fantasy about how nice it would be to act instead of acting. Caught up in concept, not in experience. Interested more in opinion than in skill. And that used to be really bad in the 90s when I started coaching, and it's even worse now because we have social media, which is almost exclusively thought, concept, opinion with zero actual experience, zero gaining of skill. Anything anybody posts on social media is a concept unless that concept is taken and it's applied. It's put into experience. That's why you see so many of my posts being actually applicable. Not all of them, because there is a place for abstract thought, but more than half of my posts you can take and you can apply them to your benefit in daily life. When you apply for a job, do you think the company you're applying at is interested more in your opinion or in your skill? And when somebody comes to coaching with me, do you think they're interested in my opinion or more in actually getting results? Now, fortunately, I know that people who come to me for coaching are interested in results only. That's the bottom line. I can have the greatest opinions. My opinions agree with all of their opinions. That's fantastic. But who cares if they don't get results, if they don't get the healing they came for or the financial improvement they came for? Then all of it is just talk. And it's not even in the coaching that shows how good the coaching was, but in what happens after, in the actual experience in daily life. So if you can't take what I taught you and apply it, it's all worthless. All my books, all my coachings, all my videos, trash, worthless, unless you can take what was said, bring it into your heart, and manifest it as a real empowerment, a real change. People think that knowledge is power, but it's just not so. I know you hear that everywhere. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. You gotta learn the information. Information is power. If that were true, then the information age, which is what we have with the internet, access to all information in the world at the push of a button. If that were power, then everybody would have become empowered since the age of the internet. But honestly, if I look around, not much has changed at all. Maybe a little bit more empowerment because information is valid and access to information is valid and freedom of speech is important. So there was a little jump in competence, but it should have been much more if we think that knowledge is power. But it's not actually. What is power? Skill is power. The doing is power. The ability to do something, the ability to act, that is power. That is true power. Having experienced something, and because you've been through it and lived through it, you can competently know and see what's going on. Because I've been in this area before, I've experienced this area, I know that we better not go here because there's poisonous stuff here. We go here. I've been through it. So mere understanding is fairly low on the scale. Creating your own experience is very high on the scale. What scale? The scale of experience. You know, people are always like, yeah, I understand. Or to me as a coach, I often have this, I get it. I understand. I get it, Fred. Yeah, totally understand. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, who cares? You understanding does not necessarily mean that you're going to implement it, that you're going to achieve it. Okay? Sure, you understand. And if people say that too often, I know they're not really internalizing anything for a later application or experience. I get it. I already know that. I know that. I already know. I already know. I know this. I think this. My opinion is this. My beliefs are this. Who cares? If you keep going by the same thoughts and beliefs and opinions you had and things you already know, you're not going to learn anything new. You're not going to expand. You're not going to go beyond what you've been before. Who cares what you already know? Knowing about something such as love, does that create real satisfaction? I know about love, seen plenty of movies about it. No. Being in love and loving a person or a pet or a child, that's love. It's actually a warmth in the chest, an energy, it's a fire, it's an unconditionalness, it's a state, it's a soft glow that's going from the forehead and from the chest. That's love. Not, oh yeah, I know about love, heard about it. That's not love, that's AI love, robot love. Knowing about riding a bike is not the same as actually riding one. Knowing about riding a bike does not give you power. Understanding how to ride a bike does not give you power. How could it? But once you can actually experience riding a bike, you have the power to go to another place. You have the power to transport other people, transport pretty girls, transport pretty guys. You have the power to go to the supermarket and buy your mother some groceries. You have the power to act. You can have your entire library full of books about bicycles. It doesn't mean you know anything about bicycles. And a lot of my students that I've coached in the last 30 plus years, they had extensive libraries, but it didn't mean that much unless they applied what they learned. So knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So write down, this is an exercise, write down something you know, beginning the sentence with I know that. And let's do another one. I know that, what do you know? And write down a sentence beginning with I think. I think that. And let's do another one. I think, what do you think? Tell us what you think. And then write a sentence beginning with I believe. I believe this and this. What is it you believe? Tell us. And then again, begin the sentence with I believe. All right? So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sentences, beginning with I know, I think, I believe. Now go tell your sentences to a tree, or to a piece of furniture, or to the ocean, whatever's there, to the grass, to the wall. I know this, I believe this, I think this, my opinion is this, blah, 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 blah. Do you get my point? Go tell it to the tree, tell it to the wall. And what's the tree's reaction, or what's the wall's reaction? Nothing. Zero. You see, and that's what social media is. It's full of nothing. And people spend a lot of time there. I spend about 10 minutes a day on social media. Nothing more. I don't want to get drawn into the world of concept. I want to stay in power, in experience. But it's not only social media. Then they go have a conversation with someone and it's all about what they think. I think this and I think this and I notice this and I think this. My opinion is this. My viewpoint is this. Me, 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 me. And that's the same thing. They're in concept. They're not actually experiencing anything, nor do they have any situational awareness of anything. We're in a crisis of situational awareness because we're either immersed in thought or in our phones these days and hardly notice anything of what's actually happening in the world. What's actually going on in the world. And with that kind of low level of awareness, anyone could do anything with humankind. Anyone could come in and enslave the entire human race. Easy. It'd be so easy because everybody's unaware. Go complain to the tree. You have complaints? Don't come to me. Complain to the tree. Of what use are your complaints? Exactly zero. And I tell people, go complain to the tree. And I do that too. If I have complaints, I can complain to the wall. Of what use is it to you if I keep bitching, griping, whining, and complaining? Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to point out things that are wrong, to expose wrongs. That's good. That's a very good thing, bringing the negative to light. But with some people, it diverts and eventually turns into a constant griping and whining and complaining about all the wrongs in the world, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean. Got plenty of people like that on social media. All they do all day is whine and complain about corruption. And you can tell they're never actually going to do anything about it. That's why they're sitting there all day whining and complaining, because they don't intend to do anything about it. However, if you go out and actually act and do something about it, for example, last week I was at this homeless shelter and I painted their walls. Okay, an entire homeless shelter, me and a couple other people painted. Beautiful. It looks all crisp again. That's an actual experience, and it's also an acting. You see something you don't like in society, and you act. And that touches people's lives. That makes an actual difference. Much more of a difference than sitting online and whining and complaining about homelessness, for example. I don't know how else to put this, but everybody, the whole world needs to get out of their mind. And if we do that, you'll have paradise on earth within just a few weeks. Now, all the things you wrote down that you think, know, and believe, you actually accept these thoughts without question. That's why you say, I believe, or I think. And all of these thoughts create your experience. So instead of your will in the present creating your experience, I will this, I will that, it's past programs creating your experience. Have you ever questioned the things you think, the things you know, the things you believe? Have you ever said, I think this, and then said, wait a minute, do I even want to think this? Do I even want to believe this? Does this belief still serve me? Have you ever asked such questions? Man, that would be beneficial. Woman, that would be beneficial. What if you thought nothing for some time, or believed nothing, or knew nothing for a while? Wouldn't that be fun? Then everything could reveal itself to you intuitively, and reality would be obvious, self-explaining, no need for any thought or belief. And what's something you would like to experience? From this empty space of not knowing, not thinking, not believing, makes you kind of empty. It's easiest to create into that what you'd like to experience. And how do you do that? You start describing what you want to experience until you feel it, until you experience it. Feeling it is experiencing it. So describe something you'd like to experience. I'd like to experience this and this and this and this, and go into great detail about it. Put this recording on pause as you go into detail. See if you can talk about it, what you want to experience, for 5 full minutes, preferably one topic, one item. Really get into it. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. How was that? Isn't it amazing that you can talk yourself into something and then you feel it as if it's already true? And if you were to stay in that vibe I teach, you'd start attracting things that fit to that for real. And is there something you would like to decreate? Remove attention from, let go of? Well, the way that works is, as I also teach, what you resist will persist, but what you fully experience to the very end will dissolve, because you're finished with it. You've fully experienced it to its very outermost limits and borders. So what you fully experience will disappear. What you experience without resistance will disappear. And that might be a head scratcher for most of you, even though I've been teaching it for 30 plus years. How is that supposed to work? Isn't it that if I fully get into something, like just now, it's going to manifest? And now he's saying that if I fully experience something, it's going to dissolve. You're not making any sense, Fred. That is a contradiction, Fred. Blah, 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 blah. Well, why don't you just be quiet for a moment and observe what this means? I had you describe something until you experience it, but you did not yet manifest it and experience it to its very end, which would have led to a natural letting go as you expand beyond and look for more. Okay? So experiencing it to its end means letting the emotion of it run out until it totally bores you, because that leads to a natural letting go. That's what I'm saying. So you move through an entire experience without resistance, then you move beyond it. Why don't you try that right now? Choose a thing that you've been experiencing in life that you no longer want to experience, and then just focus on it for some time and try to really feel it and really go through it over and over and over, allowing it to be there and be there and be there. How long? Until you grow bored. While at the same time, so that you don't get stuck, while at the same time remaining aware of what's outside of that feeling. So let's say the feeling is here, there's also a lightness and an empty space outside of it, while also remaining aware that it's just your focus, that you can release your focus at any time. Okay? Why don't you try that? I'll give you 5 minutes for that. Don't do more, because I don't want you to get stuck in the negative. I want you to transcend the negative, and that only works if you go through something without any resistance whatsoever. A full embrace, loving embrace. See you in 5 minutes. And how was that? Pretty intense, huh? Most people reject the so-called negative, and by doing that, they reject their own energy, because that's the energy you're carrying with yourself. It's like rejecting yourself. If you want to get rid of it, you need to go through it, which is the opposite of getting rid of it. And I know this all sounds paradoxical, blah, 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 but that's how it works. What is an experience? An experience is a motion in time, an action, an activity, a feeling, sensation, perception, attitude, point of view, mental state, consideration, judgment, evaluation, images. And what eventually happens to most people is that their experiences are created by concepts, by the things you've recorded, instead of by pure will in the now. Pure will is your higher self in the now. So you wake up in the morning, and you say, I choose to feel excellent. I choose to feel funny. But that's not how it works with most people. They wake up in the morning and they just feel whatever they feel based on their past records. And if they have recorded that the belief that I feel cranky in the morning, and they keep repeating the stupid record, then that's exactly what they'll keep experiencing, And people tell me stuff like this all the time, thinking they're so important, communicating this with me. Well, I feel cranky in the morning, but, after a coffee, it's all good. And usually what happens is they're going to go by that recording for the rest of their life. I feel cranky in the morning, but after a coffee, it's pretty good. I feel cranky in the morning, but after a coffee, it's pretty good. I feel cranky in the morning, but after a coffee, it's pretty good. I feel cranky in the morning, but after a coffee, it's pretty good. And the reason I'm repeating that so often is so that you see the program as program. I actually have people repeat their programs in coaching intentionally, many, many times. I feel cranky in the morning, then it's good. And eventually you just get so bored of it. If you keep repeating it consciously instead of subconsciously, you let go of it, and then you ask yourself, what would I like to believe instead? Well, instead, I'd like to have a different experience. I'd like to have the experience of feeling alive in the morning, looking forward to the day. So you formulate that as a new belief. I feel alive in the morning, looking forward to the day. Every morning I feel so fresh and alive. And at first, because you're not used to it, and you've been gone from an old recording, it may not work. But as you continue with the new story, the new intention, the new belief, as you keep affirming it and reaffirming it and commanding it and visualizing it and feeling it and practicing it and having a body posture of that, eventually it turns into your real experience, because you go into detail on it. That's how you create experience. So instead of just sitting there saying, I understand, never mind what you know, believe, think, understand, that's the past. Tell me what you've decided, what you intend, what you are going to create through your will. I'm going to tell you something that's scary to me, but considered normal in society. Most people, and this shocks me, but it's not going to shock you. You'll be like, so what? It's normal, okay? But it shocks me. Most people think that things, stuff, objects are real and human experiences are less real. So they think that this object here is more real than how I feel. And that's actually shocking. Okay, your experience, what you think, what's inside of you, your dreams, your states, your sensations, the sense of energy, the awareness, the consciousness, that's actually what's real. The energy that is exchanged between humans, that is what is real, whereas these objects are much less real. These objects are just stuff that we've crafted with our very real consciousness and mind. We've crafted them out of dirt, out of the ground. Okay, this is actually rock, quite heavy. And it is our consciousness that crafted this out of dirt. This is nothing more than dirt. The reason it looks good is not because of the dirt or something inherent in the things, it's because of consciousness. And insanely, most people experience life the other way around. They're caught up in a false belief system. And that's one of the roots of all problems in the world. Thinking the external reality out there is real, is important. And if you have people believe that, you can easily enslave them. You know, you could tell them, for example, just an example, I'm not saying this ever happened, but you could tell them a pandemic is going on, even if it isn't. And if they take their reality from the screen, rather than from what they're really experiencing in the now surroundings, they're going to believe it. They'll believe anything coming out of the screen because the screen is a delivery system of thought. You know, you couldn't invent a better brainwashing system, really. So nothing's happening in my surroundings, okay? Nobody's dropping dead on the streets. There's no birds falling off the tree. So I know all is well. But the screen tells me there's a pandemic. So theoretically speaking, they could do that, right? Not saying it ever happened. Because if I do say it really happened, I'm going to get censored and this video is going to get removed. You see the sad state humanity is in? If I say that experience is more valid than what you were taught on the screen, my video will get censored. And most people at this point don't even care. They literally don't care what is being censored, what they're being shown and what they're not being shown. Because the people censoring, they're saying, we have prepared this reality for you. We know better. This is what you're going to experience. You're not going to choose your own experience. It's like talking to children, or if you're an adult, it's like talking to slaves. So the real is experience. Things are less real. I'm not saying they're not real, but they're less real. Look, let me put it another way. If I ask you to tell me what you're experiencing, what's happening? Tell me what you're experiencing. And do you realize that's not actually what you're experiencing? It's what you experienced a moment ago. That is thought, the thought that you're communicating. There's nothing wrong with this, but the thought is never the experience. Because what you were experiencing happened a moment ago, and now you're telling me what you did experience. It's one of the weaknesses of the mind to constantly have to label things and explain and justify things instead of just feeling and experiencing them. How intense and energetic would your life be if you could do less labeling and explaining and justifying and just feel? You know, you could see a sunset and experience it in a different way, not like a tourist. It's this beautiful, we saw this beautiful sunset, the Grand Canyon, a couple months ago, and there were tourists there. They were constantly commenting on, running a radio commentary on the sunset. Oh, look at that beautiful sunset. Oh, wow, can I take a selfie? Oh, look at this. Oh, look how it's this and this and this, instead of actually experiencing what is there. Big difference. Okay, so if you're experiencing an inexperience, you're just in the now, then in the now, and then in another now, in another now. The recorded symbols and files are not the experience itself. The map is not the territory. So the problem is really, if you saw a flying saucer, and I have seen flying saucers, rather than just taking the experience as it is and as self-evident and like, wow, and feeling the flying saucer, by which you could actually find out what it really is, the mind goes off of past recordings. And if somebody's really dense, they'll say, I must be hallucinating. I must have had something bad for lunch. So they're going off what they recorded instead of what is and what they see right in front of their eyes. Or less dense, but equally false, oh my God, I saw an alien. And I say, well, did you actually see an alien? Up in the sky, I saw an alien. No, did you see an alien? I saw a flying saucer. So they're not even cognizant of the fact that they're equating flying saucer with alien. They've been brainwashed in such a fashion. What if it's not alien? What if it's a government vehicle? What if it's subterranean? What if it's a time-traveling human? I don't know. All I see from experience is a silver disc. So people make stuff up that's consistent with their beliefs and concepts and no longer perceive reality as such. And reality is very, very amazing if you perceive it as it is. If this presentation helped you as a reality creator, please share it far and wide. My name is Fred Dodson. Have a nice day.